G'day guys, just doing a quick how-to video on a couple of things that we're going to be adding to our repo soon. First up is the USS Nimitz, second the A-18 Superhornet, and third is Mando missiles. Now, to get into this bloody thing, you need to go to Aircraft Actions, open Canopy, and then you have access to the cockpit. Once you're inside the cockpit, you need to go to Aircraft Actions again, close Canopy. If you don't do that, you will shear the canopy off on takeoff and you'll have an annoying hissing wind sound for the rest of the mission. Now to take off from the USS Nimitz, flaps down full and slowly taxi onto one of the launch pads. Once you're in position, you'll be given the option to lower launch bar. This will center you on the launch pad and will raise the blast shield behind you. You're now basically stuck on this thing, so if you power all the way up, you're not going to go anywhere, but you actually need to increase your thrust to maximum before you do this, otherwise you'll just fucking fall straight into the drink. So thrust to maximum, and then you use salute in your add action menu. Once you gain some speed, you put your flaps back up. Now, Mando missiles adds some really cool things. First off, I'll touch on the default keys. Control will cycle through your ordnance and HUD modes. You can see I'm doing that now. I've gone to navigation. The launch key is your left Windows key. When you're in navigation mode, the launch key brings this screen up. This will be really handy for fire missions. You put your first waypoint on your initial point, second waypoint onto your target, third waypoint can be an egress marker. It's going to be really handy, I think, for coming in on fire missions, and just generally, you know, it'll be handy for getting from place to place. On the navigation screen, you'll see that there's a small arrow to the right of my crosshairs that is pointing roughly towards where my next waypoint is. And waypoints will show up as yellow arrows, as you can see there on the frame of my cockpit. Countermeasures are now handled with your left shift and your right key, your Romeo key. Romeo is your ECM, which is now displayed at the top right of your HUD. It takes 20 seconds for it to be used and come back online. And left shift uses flares. You only have 15, so save them for when you actually have to defeat IR missiles. Now, the FA-18 is equipped with 2x AIM-9s and 4x AIM-120s. 120s are obviously better for longer range targets or air targets like other jets. AIM-9s will be better for helicopters. If that's incorrect, if anyone knows any better, please correct me. So there is definitely an enemy air asset out here. There he is. Vector towards him, we'll take him out first, and then we'll move on to the shulker. Tab to lock. Once you're locked, left Windows key fires your missile, box 2. As you can see, targets will show up on a radar at the bottom right hand of your HUD. Damn, he's defeated. Oh, no, he's down. targets will show up on a radar to the bottom right of your HUD, and that is in roughly a 45-degree arc in front of your aircraft, I believe. So I'll go over that again. Tab to lock, left Windows key to fire your missile. Now with the air asset taken out, we'll do a dummy run on a shulker right here. So this will be my initial point, target location, egress marker. Now to take out ground units, the A-18 will be using AGM-65s. There's something like 4 different ways you can use these AGMs. Seeing as this target is going to be on a little island near and or behind some rocks, it's kind of it's masked from radar slightly, so it's hard to get a lock on it. So we're going to be using the targeting pod in this case. If you end up using AGMs without the targeting pod, you can just use a tab lock and a tab lock and fire, much the same way as I took out the air asset with those AIM 120s. I'm not going to bother showing you that because it's way too easy. So we use the camera in your add actions. It's off to my right. Oh, what? Alright, we have a lock. And he's shooting at me, so I want to get the hell out of here. Engage afterburners and fucking vector away from him. Alright, so that targeting pod will stay on that spot until I tell it otherwise. Now this is obviously extremely handy in other situations, like if you're going to come in for a gun run or a bomb run and you want to check the area out first, you can do so using that targeting pod. But here we're going to actually use it to actually launch an air-to-ground missile. Now we've got a lock, we did that by clicking, but you can also hit tab. Sometimes it can be a little finicky to find, to get right on the guy, and we're going to left Windows key to fire, rifle. And we can now forget that, it's fire and forget, the targeting pod will do the rest of the work, but I'm going to make sure that, whoop, there we go. Just wanted to make sure the camera stayed on him so you can see that it definitely hits. Now he's been taken out. We'll go on to the next way you can fire AGMs, and that's via self-designation, just by tab and then fire. So I've hit tab, where my crosshair was, a laser designation has popped up. I can now use left mouse button, and the missile hits exactly where I designated. I'm about to fall out of the sky because I've been abusing afterburners. Next is the Mark 82, which we'll actually use to hit our target here. It's guided by a CCIP, so you get your reticle on the target and then you hit your left mouse, your left Windows key. Pickle, pickle, pickle. Now, one more thing, your cannon, it's not affected by Mando missiles at all, so if you hit F, it should already be selected up the top right, but if you hit F and make sure it's selected, you can then just click and fire whenever you want to. Mando missiles doesn't affect it, and so long as you don't hit F at any point, you won't accidentally launch some missile or some bomb. And that way, you don't have to cycle through your ordnance to use your cannon. It's just always there on your left click, which is extremely handy for when you're trying to take on an enemy air asset and perhaps you get a bit too close, you don't think the missile's going to make it in time, you don't have to cycle through to switch to guns. You just left click. One more thing regarding navigation. If you have the navigation HUD on, or you've switched to navigation mode, you can then hit tab and select a couple of different points of interest, and these are usually airfields at which you can land. If you are in navigation mode, you'll see I don't know what you call this thing, but it's definitely a guide to come down onto the airfield. Okay, so I'm off course a little bit. Correct it, moving north. Now we want flaps down all the way and gear down. So I'm a little high, going a little fast. Let's bring my airspeed down to 260 and lose a little bit of altitude. There we go, we're looking green now. Goes up a bit. There we go, 257, that looks good to me. Braking, nose up. Landed halfway down the runway, but it's all good. Now obviously don't really need that, but it's a nifty little thing to have. And there you have it. I'm pretty sure I covered everything. If there's anything that I forgot to cover, if you've got any questions, just hit us up. Shit.
I'm hearing guys sort of north of us.
Whoa. Wow.
Oh, yeah. All back to confirm position over.
That's another one.
Yeah, look, frag out to the north, guys,
wait,
frag out.
Oh, damn. I didn't even realize that was the enemy bomber.
Yeah. He's still got two.
But, alright, fall back a little bit. They're on our right flank. Two at a time, two at a time. Still in Telomere, hang out here. Myself and